Welcome back to Young Trip Reactions. The next video we're also going to do today is Black Worker awarded $50 million. I think I'm saying it right. After her boss calls her black entitled N-word. Let's get into that.
Black worker awarded $15 million because, well...
15, obviously. Let's get back into it.
The people she works for couldn't stop being racist. Put it up full mass. Black worker awarded $15 million because, well, the people she works for couldn't stop being racist. Put it up full mass. A federal jury has awarded a black woman who formerly worked in code enforcement for the city of Fresno $15 million in damages after finding the city liable for racial discrimination and also retaliation last week. Her name is Kiki Wilson. Kiki Wilson's legal battle began October 2019 when she and a co-worker, Charles Smith, pictured on the right, filed a complaint against the city and their former supervisor, Howard Lacey. They accuse Howard of calling her the N-word. That's pretty racist. Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty racist. Calling her the N-word. Let's get back into it. I think that's probably 15 million right there by itself, but all right, let's continue.
X. Taking adverse employment actions. They accuse Howard of calling her the N-word. That's pretty racist. Yes, that checks. Taking adverse employment actions against her. That's retaliation. That's against the rules of engagement.
Yep, retaliation. Cannot do that. Let's continue.
For employment, check. And they filed this, each of them filed this, complaining about the harassment. Smith, who was white, was awarded $400,000 by the jury. So
he was awarded $400,000. Man. Let's continue.
This was an interesting case because you have a white employee who's citing and agreeing with the racism, or at least the bigoted and the unfair treatment, as well as retaliatory treatment experienced from the supervisor. There's more. This is how it began. So Wilson's rocky relationship with Lacey began soon after he was hired as an inspector in the city's code enforcement division in 2004, according to her complaint originally filed in the local county superior court, and it was obtained by Atlanta Black Star. Atlanta Black Star did great reporting. It was moved to the U.S. District Court in California in 2020. Lacey, her supervisor, displayed, quote, obvious disdain for African Americans, end quote, by discussing and acting out racial stereotypes, including during a training for, quote, using urban language, during which he donned a paper bag with a bottle in it and told people that he was from West Fresno, which had a significant black population. The lawsuit said he was pretending like it was a beer bottle or something, right, like a 40 ounce. And playing a character. Wilson claimed she heard Lacey say that code inspectors need to complete any inspections in West Fresno in the morning because, quote, they will all be asleep, end quote, and the employees wouldn't be at risk. Wilson also claimed that a picture of Barack Obama at her desk was desecrated with monkey ears.
Oh my God, that's disrespectful. I'm actually reacting to this in real time, so I may pause quite a bit because I only took a peek at this video. Didn't get a chance to watch it all the way through before I react. I wanted to give my actual live reaction. So, and also it will help probably to get you guys to more, be more engaged with watching. But back to it. Yeah, that is disrespectful to a former president leader of the United States of America. And to her, knowing that obviously that she support Obama and had a picture of him on her desk, and for him to walk by and put monkey ears, I'm guessing he probably did that on the picture frame. That's crazy. People just, I don't even know what to say. Let's continue.
Early on in her employment, GV Wire reported this. So in one interaction, Lacey then allegedly told Smith to stay away from Wilson because she's a no good piece of ish.
Oh. And I think he meant SHI word. Oh my God. Man. That's just wrong. That's to be trying to convince somebody else to basically hate someone else because you got a problem with them. Yeah. He's something else. Let's continue.
That the only reason she got her job back was because she, quote, played the race card. Smith should, quote, avoid her like the plague.
She only got her job back because she played the race card. I mean, that part needs to be explained. What happened with her job? Did she leave and come back? Did she get let go? I mean, I don't know. What does he mean by that? But let's continue. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe not. I don't know. Let's go.
Lacey allegedly said, if Smith wanted, quote, any chance of being hired full time, end quote, Smith did as Lacey told him. He said and avoided Wilson, whom he did not know. He didn't know her. Okay. He was hired as a full-time probationary employee in April 2018. So you have the boss saying, all right, if you want to get this full-time situation done, you want to make your 90 days probationary period, you got to stay away from the black woman because she is only at her job because, she played the race card. And
that is crazy. That is crazy. He told him, this guy that's defending her now, the Caucasian guy, to stay away from the black one. Be careful of your employers out here. This is crazy. I mean, I've had my own experiences like this. But this is crazy. Let's continue.
So now he's manipulating and utilizing intimidation and threatens retaliation. Because if you base employment predicated on if somebody avoids the black person, that is already, against the rules of engagement, yes. Okay.
Here's how I'm doing laundry in 2026.
Yeah, it's 2026. We're not using this stuff anymore. And make sure you don't breathe it in. Your lungs don't need this mess.
Definitely not you.
So in May, this was interesting. This 2018 avoids the black person. That is already, against the rules of engagement, yes. Okay. So in May, this was interesting. This 2018 in May, Smith and Wilson were among city employees who attended a 5-day statewide training for code enforcement officials. Typically, they do these trainings in order to get their continuing education. 4 days in, Lacey called Smith late one night and accused him of meeting privately with Wilson and told him he, quote, had eyes and ears everywhere and knew that Smith had been exchanging nods with Wilson during the training. Smith said that wasn't true, but Lacey again told him, stay away from Wilson if he wanted to pass probation and continue his employment. Once again.
You cannot do that. You cannot tell your employees who they can be friends with. You cannot tell your employees to stay away from somebody if they want to keep their job. Yeah. Last time I checked, that is against the law. My supervisor cannot tell me to stay away from somebody that I work with out at the cooking locations that I cook at. My supervisors out at warehouses cannot tell me to stay away from other people that I want to kick it with to keep my employment. That is against the law. Nobody can tell anybody who to kick it with, especially once you're an adult. Your own parents can't even tell you who to kick it with. So what makes you think an employer can do that? No. No, sir. You cannot do that. You are not his mother. You are not his father. You are not God or anybody else like that. And secondly, he is a grown man. He is not a child, not a teenager, not a kid. You cannot tell him at all, like I just stated. You can't even tell your adult relatives who to stay away from. So an employer, as an adult, definitely cannot tell somebody who to stay away from. Yeah, this dude he is crazy. Let's continue.
Sir, completely against the law. June 2018, after Smith and Lacey inspected an African-American woman's property and got back into the vehicle, Lacey allegedly said, see, Charlie, I'm not a racist. Kiki wants to say that I'm a racist, but I'm not. I'm super nice. It's her. Then he added, Kiki is an entitled N-word. I'm not saying N-word with an E-R. I'm saying N-word, N-I-G-G-N.
He said an entitled N-word. Oh. He told the dude to stay away from her again because she's nothing but an entitled N-word. What? This is a person that you hired back or whatever, because that part still isn't clear. But she's an entitled N-word. And then you claim because she used the race card to get her job back. This is... Oh, man. Yeah, he is crazy. Let's continue.
Smith responded, Howard, can this be over? Just stop it already. I don't want to hear this crap. I get it. You hate Kiki, but I'm not here for your issue with Kiki, according to the complaint. Looks like his 90 days were over, so he was full-time employed at this point, Wilson. So he tells the boss, the supervisor, stop it. Cut it out. I'm not here for that. There's more. So later, June 2018, Smith learned that Lacey had been sending out letters regarding inspections to residents under Smith's name for inspections Smith had not conducted and asked him to stop. as it could be considered fraud. Lacey allegedly told him not to worry about it. Soon after, Lacey stopped speaking with Smith and replying to his emails and texts. He's being petty. The following month, Smith was transferred to the tire team, a less desirable job completely outside of his skill set. The lawsuit said Smith complained about.
Last time I checked, if he was transferred to a lower level of a job outside of his skill set, also transferred to a lower level job at all, that is considered a demotion and totally against the law. Again, this dude is crazy. Let's continue. As I'm telling you, I'm reacting to this in real time. So you get my real, actual me reacting to this. This dude is crazy. He is demoting people. He is telling people who to talk to, who to be friends with at the job. He is, oh no, he is crazy, yo.
Transferred to Tim Burns, Lacey's supervisor, telling him he considered the move retaliation by Lacey. Smith resigned July 10th, 2018.
I'm guessing they're referring to him. He resigned from the company. I mean, he was demoted. And not only that, moved to a whole department that he didn't know nothing about, that was not connected to his skill set. Man, this is crazy. Let's continue.
He called Wilson the next day and gave her an earful about the racist comments Lacey had previously made about her, including that he called her an entitled N-word. Wilson, who was at work, headed to the Human Resources Department to file a complaint. She was at work when she got the call. On her way there, she saw a coworker and raised her voice and said, "They're all effing liars, all of them." One of them reported to Andrew Cuevas, the city's personnel manager in code enforcement, that Wilson had directed the profanity at him. Andrew interviewed Wilson and learned that Wilson had made the outburst shortly after learning that she had been called a racial slur by Lacey. But he decided that the context did not excuse her violation or her violation of the city's professional code of conduct policy, and issued her a letter of reprimand August 2019. Okay, now this is interesting because obviously racism doesn't get a reprimand, but her making a proclamation of an emotional proclamation does. So during the 10...
Retarded, dumb, stupid company. Oh my God. Let's continue.
A trial. When asked about her use of profanity in that moment by Mandy Jeffcoach, lead attorney for the city, Wilson said, quote, "I was pissed. Do you understand? You wouldn't. Being a black woman, knowing what I knew, all of those things, I didn't think of any rules at the time." Later in August 2018, the city hired attorney Dallas Selling to investigate Wilson's complaint concerning Lacey's conduct. During her interview with Lacey, federal judge Kirk E. Sheriff observed that she failed to ask Lacey whether he had used a racial slur to describe Wilson. Instead, she questioned Lacey about his conversation with Smith without mentioning the racial slur, assuming Lacey would correct her if he used the slur. Her investigation determined that there was insufficient fact to sustain Wilson's allegations against Lacey. Selling, who also asked by the city in 2018 to simultaneously investigate Wilson's behavior, she found that Wilson was known to be, quote, aggressive, hostile, and disruptive. There we go. Oh, angry black woman. Code for angry black woman.
Yep. That's exactly where we knew that was going to go. Instant angry black woman instead of what he said and all the things he said to that man. Entitled N-word. Let's not forget that. Let's continue.
Okay. Once again, they're not dealing with the fact that her boss was racist. There's more. And recommended in 2019 that Wilson be fired. After some interface by her union representative and some legal wrangling over the next year, Wilson was given a 30-day suspension, September 2020, by the City Civil Service Board, all because she had one emotional proclamation after learning her boss was calling her the N-word.
That is crazy. A 30-day suspension. After figuring out that your boss called you the N-word. Don't make no sense. But okay, let's continue.
In the meantime, both Wilson and Smith decided, you know what? We're going to get on this together. So they filed an administrative complaint and multiple administrative complaints with the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing and received their right to sue letter. Okay, they review the case to see, do you have a right? Is there a proclamation you can make here based on the standard of law? Yes, you actually have a claim. So in their federal lawsuits, they accuse the city and Lacey of racial discrimination, harassment, and retaliation in violation of state and federal law. The lawsuit said Wilson had endured 15 years of racism waged against her by the city, which had denied every one of her applications for promotion. All of them were denied.
Oh, my God. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, ho, ho. Oh, yeah. 15 million ain't even enough. She did a lot more than that. Or 1,500 or whatever it was, I think. Or 15,000 or whatever. I think it was 15,000. 15,000 is not even enough. Man. She needed everything they had to make sure that they wouldn't even be able to operate no more. This is crazy. Let's continue.
Consistently telling her that she was, quote, not the right fit while hiring other people with less education and less experience.
Oh, man. No. Oh, heck no. Oh, man. No. Oh, man. Yeah. 15 million, if that's what it was, yeah, that's not enough. Just hearing more and more, it's just, this is crazy. Let's continue.
Wilson was eventually terminated by the city in 2022, although those reasons were not disclosed or made part of the trial.
She was terminated in 2020, and that was not disclosed during the trial of why she was let go. Yeah, we probably know why, because she sued, and they were mad because it impacted their business, so they told her to leave. I know all about that all too well. Let's continue. Maybe I'll give y'all that story sometime.
Because they would have been, they would have biased the jury. After deliberating for more than a day, on March 11th, the 8-person jury found the city of Fresno liable, guilty, for failing to prevent racial discrimination, harassment, and retaliation against Wilson, and for her relationship against Smith by transferring him to the tire team. So Eva Smith got some money. They're exposed, and they made me seem like I was an angry black woman, stereotype, end quote. Wilson said after the verdict, quote, I'm so glad that the jury saw past that. Amen, sister. And I gotta highlight, I gotta highlight the colleague, the white male, who did the right thing, who heard enough, and who also decided to go on record with her to provide additional testimony as to the malfeasance of the supervisor. That's called an ally and a friend. All right? Okay, this is the thoughts here.
Advertising.
Well, attorney selling is a perfect example of what I call white solidarity gaslighting. And that is when, in solidarity with racism, you make the entire case about the reaction to racism. And so rather than doing a thorough investigation that held the actual offending party liable for his actions, who, by the way, according to reports, is still working for the city, it turns the black woman into the boogie woman for an...
That's crazy. Still working for the city, y'all. This uncivilized mutt still working for the city. You got to get a petition to get him on up out of there. This is crazy after hearing all of this. Let's continue.
Outburst that I think anybody would excuse. I've heard more forceful language over football results or other things at work. So come on. But, racism is expensive, but it is a price that white supremacists are consistently willing to pay. 15 years of abuse, documented incidents, documented discrimination. At any point, the city, if they were worried about the fiduciary responsibility to its taxpaying citizens, could have done something about this, at minimum, incompetent leadership from Lacey. At minimum, that's what it was. It was incompetent and inappropriate.
This went on for 15 years. Oh man, yeah, she should have got more money. This is crazy. Let's continue.
Maximum is what Miss Wilson was alleging. And they did nothing. And they're still doing nothing. And we can expand this to the entire country. Racism costs this country, or has cost, according to Citigroup, $16 trillion over the past 20 years.
$16 trillion. Because people can't stop being racist. $16 trillion, y'all. This is crazy. Let's continue.
The entire country would be better off with less racism. But yet, as a policy, we still, or I should say this society and our lawmakers, and Trump is a prime example of it, still choose racism every single time over the advancement and over progress for everybody. And so this is really, really disgusting that she had to endure this. I don't think that the amount of abuse that she had to deal with in terms of, and the psychological toll, the lost income that she had to deal with you can put a price tag on that. But good for her, because you know what? Black people being litigious is my jam. I love to see it. Absolutely. Document and sue every single time. Worst case scenario, you've just documented it. Best case scenario, you get a check.
That's right. And she's getting a government check for 15.
Any pizza, any toppings for just $9.99. Sheesh, I'm getting all kinds of ideas.
Watch what coffee does to clogged lungs.
Can't breathe deeply? This common mistake keeps mucus stuck in your...
Yeah, that was a lot. Yeah, she deserves everything that she gets, and she really deserves more. That is crazy. 15 years. Her boss telling people to not kick it with her. Yeah, that is crazy. I've had my own situations, but I never had a boss tell someone not to kick it with me because of my eye condition or because of me being African American or anything like that. He is a total uncivilized mutt. He told this white man not to kick it with this lady because she was black. Called her the entitled N-word. Called her an entitled N-word, folks. This is crazy. just to give you a little piece of my story that I was referring to about a manager acting silly with me. There was this place that I was working at with. I was working at first, and I also brought in a friend of mine. And we weren't even barely into 2 weeks at the job. And this is a place that hires people with vision loss, just to let you know. And the supervisor said, "You black Mexican N-words." Well, he didn't say the N-word, but he said, "You black Mexicans taking forever to learn the job." I'm too busy thinking about her story. That's why I said that other part. But he said, "You black Mexicans taking forever to learn the job," and basically saying that people who look like him, who was Caucasian, learned the job basically fast. And according to people, the job is still the same way today. This job that hires people who have vision loss. And there's people there who lost their vision, later in their life, where they just feel that their life is over and that this job that hires people with vision loss is all they can get. So they have no choice but to put up with the treatment. Versus a person like me who's been this way my entire life, or my friend who lost his vision when he was 8 years old. I may want to see if he wants to come in and tell his story about that. But, people who've lived this way for a very long time, can just get up and leave and say, "I'm not going to put up with it." But there are people who can't. There are people who also like their job, like this lady probably liked her job and didn't want to leave. But she was also eventually let go. I think the article said 2021 or 2022 that she was eventually let go. Obviously that couldn't be disclosed in her trial, because I'm guessing that they were saying that it was a separate matter when it probably wasn't, because a lot of these jobs, when they get sued by their employee, they try to get rid of them. I know from experience, because when I wrote about the company that I was just telling you about, that I worked for, when I wrote about how they treat people of color on their social media sites, contracts were instantly pulled from that company. And when I came in to work, they pulled me in the HR office and told me to leave. And this is a place that hires people with vision loss, because they thought that they could bully me like they bully the other people who just lost their vision, versus understanding you were dealing with somebody who been this way their entire life, went to school, got a culinary degree, realizing that this was just a job that I was doing. And I could go out here and go get a regular job like anybody else. And you don't need to, you ain't just going to run me over, and you don't need to run me over. Because if you do that, I'll just go somewhere else. Versus some of these other people, they don't have no something else. Because losing your eyesight later in life is going to make it harder for you to get a job. Because it's going to be like, what do you know how to do with limited eyesight or no eyesight? The only best option is to go somewhere that hires people who have limited eyesight and can teach you how to live with limited eyesight. This company that I worked for could teach you how to live with limited eyesight. And they could teach you how to work and do everything. It's basically like a school after school from people who have limited eyesight. And so they just thought we could treat everybody like this, because the people who have limited eyesight that lost their eyesight, what they gonna do? They have no choice but to put up with the bulliness. But a person who's been this way their entire life don't have to put up with it. Just like how this lady, because she really liked her job, she dealt with it for so long until somebody else heard it who was Caucasian and stepped up and made her brave enough to more step up. Tell me what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts. This is crazy. He called her an entitled N-word, told people to stay away from her, told people to not be her friend if they wanted promotions. That is crazy. And you cannot do that. Told the dude if he wanted to really finish his probation, that he better start hating, basically, black people and other people of other races besides Caucasian. Because all people that aren't Caucasian, allegedly, in his mind, are nothing but entitled people. He tried to make this man be a racist like he's a racist. All because he don't like black people. And the man told him, after his probation, I don't care that you don't like black people. I don't care that you don't like Wilson. I'm here to work. And I'm here to be friends with whoever I want to be friends with. Because at that point, he could fire him, yeah. But at that point, he finished probation and he could sue him. And that's exactly what happened. Because he chose to be friends with Wilson. The manager fired him. And then the guy called Wilson, told her everything he said. And they filed a lawsuit. And then they also got rid of Wilson. Later on down the line, as we know. Be safe out here. Monitor your employers, because this is crazy. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments and hear what y'all got to say about this. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. Make sure that you comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification. And if you don't have a lot of videos on your liking list, like the video. I'll have the link pinned at the top of the chat as always to link back to Rashad Ritchie and in the description. And I will catch y'all in the next one. This is crazy. Be careful out here with your employers, y'all.